As an American living in Thailand for nearly half my life, I've had some fascinating and unusual experiences which have given me unique insights and a perspective worth sharing. 1. The Land of Smiles. Thailand has earned the nickname the Land of Smiles due to the courteous, warm, and welcoming demeanor of most Thais and their culture's emphasis on politeness and hospitality. The slogan, originally promoted by the Thailand Tourism Authority, is not false advertising at all, and anyone traveling the country will immediately notice an abundance of big, bright, beautiful smiles on the locals' faces. Thais are quick to laugh and tend to be laid back and friendly. In Thai culture, a smile could mean many things, however, and not all of them are so obvious. For example, a Thai woman walking down the street being caught off guard and asked for directions in English might have a huge smile plastered on her face while she attempts to answer. You might read this as a sign that she likes you and try getting flirtatious, to which she responds with even more smiles. Feeling confident with the interaction, you might then ask to get her number, only to be swiftly rejected with yet another smile and a goodbye. She didn't fancy you. She fancied getting out of the uncomfortable situation you put her in as quickly and politely as possible. In Thailand, a smile could mean that someone is confused, embarrassed, shy, agitated, or even angry. Similar to a dog showing its teeth, if the tail isn't wagging, the canine isn't happy. But since Thais don't have tails, it takes a level of situational awareness and cultural sensitivity to understand exactly what every smile in the Land of Smiles actually means. 2. The customer isn't always right. While Thailand can certainly boast some of the best customer service in the world, they do not operate under the illusion that the customer is always right. The idea of saving face is incredibly important in Asian culture and can cause huge problems for Westerners who don't understand the concept. When a Westerner feels they've been slighted, offended, or treated poorly, they will often get on their high horse and express a kind of righteous, indignant anger until they feel like the wrong has somehow been made right. In Thai culture, creating a public display of your anger, raising your voice for pretty much any reason, and making demands of others is almost never going to turn out in your favor. If your food came out wrong, your taxi took you the long way, or you're overcharged on a bill, rather than reacting like an entitled tourist and getting indignant about such matters, you will have much more success if you can stay calm, cool, and collected first and foremost. To most Asians, saving face is far more important than whatever trivial trifles are currently triggering you. If you can calmly but firmly assert and express yourself, appealing to their senses of compassion and justice, you will most likely find things work out better in your favor. If you politely mention your food order was incorrect, if you calmly tell the taxi driver to take another way, or if you kindly and quietly point out the overcharged bill, you will almost always find things work out fine. If, however, you get agitated, irate, and can't help but make a scene, now you and your bad attitude have become the real problem, and if you don't calm down quickly, things may escalate far beyond your initial issue. 3. Leave your ego at the door. To give a specific example about saving face in Asian culture, let me tell you a story of what once happened to me. When I was in my mid-20s and still fairly fresh off the boat, I took a date and two of her friends to a local bar in Bangkok for her birthday. While sitting in a booth enjoying ourselves, my date accidentally drunkenly bumped her arm into a man at the next booth. He quickly and angrily whipped his head around, giving a scowl to our whole table. At first, trying to defuse the situation, I apologized for her in Thai and explained that it was an accident, but instead of accepting the apology and turning back to his table, the man just continued silently staring and scowling at me. What I should have done at this point is apologized again, then maybe moved us to another table or hopped to another bar. What my young, hot-headed self actually did instead is told him in Thai, "Hey, there's no problem, unless you want to make it a problem, in which case we can take it outside." His unblinking eyes widened even further at this suggestion, but he still didn't move at all, which I took to mean he didn't want to fight, so I turned back to my table. We stayed for another hour or so without incident, but as we left the bar, guess who was waiting right outside with 3 friends ready for me? They quickly surrounded me and kept asking if I still had a problem. Trying to de-escalate the situation, I apologized and appealed to his 3 friends, explaining how my date bumped into him by accident, and then he wouldn't accept my apology. Fortunately for me, his friends were somewhat sympathetic to my side of the story, and eventually helped calm him down enough to diffuse the whole situation. It turns out I was luckier than I thought, because my date later confirmed that in the parking lot, the Thai man had actually brought an entire van full of 10 friends, not just the 3 that had confronted me, the rest waiting to join in if a fight broke out. My young mind, trained on Hollywood movies and fistfights with schoolyard bullies, had the false idea that all such issues between guys could be solved by a one-on-one fair fight. From the perspective of the Thai man that day, however, 10-on-1 was still a fair fight, because A, his loyal friends, ready to beat me down at the drop of a hat, are just an extension of himself and his power, and B, I'm the one who stupidly started it with my invitation to go outside. I now know better and recommend, no matter where you are in the world, to keep your ego in check. Never try to solve problems with violence, and don't expect others to conform to your assumptions of what a fair fight means. 4. Fluency in a second language is a superpower. I dedicated 2 years to daily teaching myself the Thai language before moving and living there for the next 20 years. Over time, my proficiency and fluency in Thai grew to the point that I now think and dream in Thai language just as often as in English. This ability to think thoughts in another language, with full instant comprehension and no internal translation happening first, is a fascinating phenomenon that crept up on me. Most people take for granted how connected, embedded, and inseparable language is with thought. Can you imagine what it would be like to think without language? Can you remember thinking anything before you learned language? Language and thought are so intertwined that you find upon becoming bilingual that you have become bithinqual as well. What I mean by that is there is a whole new manner of thinking that opens up when you are fluent in 2 or more languages. Rather than your thoughts being intrinsically tied to your mother tongue, thoughts instead start to come into your head in whichever language better, more conveniently, more aptly, more humorously, or more beautifully describes the particular idea. Words themselves can take on new and deeper meanings as well. To give an example of what I mean, in Thai language, there are a whole group of compound words starting with jai, meaning heart, that give a brilliant context to certain behaviors absent in English. Jai yen, or cool heart, means calm, and jai ron, or hot heart, means angry. Jai di, or good heart, means kind, and jai rai, or evil heart, means mean. Jai guang, or wide heart, means generous, and jai cap, or narrow heart, means selfish. Khao jai, or enter heart, means to understand, and khao jai pit, or enter heart wrong, means misunderstand. Sia jai, or ruined heart, means to be sad or regretful. Hen jai, or seeing heart, means to sympathize. Black jai, or strange heart, means surprised. And jing jai, or true heart, means sincere. There are dozens more jai words that weave a whole new context and subtle meanings into these words that is totally absent in English. I've heard from speakers of many other languages who have told similar stories of entire concepts and ideas that they can never fully translate to people outside their mother tongue for this reason. Proficiency in a second language is like a superpower because you can communicate, connect with people, and even think on a deeper level. 5. English is a difficult and illogical language. One thing I learned from teaching ESL in Thailand is that English is actually quite illogical, inefficient, and difficult to learn without complete immersion. Since English has become an international language and is so pervasive, many people are able to pick up rudimentary skills just through this cultural immersion. But without that, English would be, and still often is, very difficult to learn. Since English has become a melting pot language with a hodgepodge of words taken from so many others, the rules for proper grammar, spelling, and pronunciation are often so haphazard and random that no explanation can be given other than, "That's just the way it is." Every time you teach a rule in English, you have to teach so many exceptions to the rule alongside it that students laugh at the idea of it being a rule at all. I before E except after C, well, except for words like weird and seas and height and foreign and weight and neighbor, and way too many more to list. English is full of nonsensical silent letters usually left over from their original language, like the K in night, the W in sword, or the B in debt. Insisting students must spell words one way, but then pronounce them in another way, is very confusing and off-putting, since nobody likes adhering to inconsistent rules that don't make sense. English and most other European languages also have a huge hurdle not present in most Asian languages, which is verb conjugation. One of the most difficult and time-consuming aspects of learning English is all the permutations of verbs depending on who is speaking and when they are speaking about. There are 12 tenses broken into past, present, and future, simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous, all with different spellings and pronunciations depending on whether you're talking about a one-time action, a habitual action, a completed action, or an ongoing action. There are tens of thousands of verbs in English, and students must remember each conjugation, often changing the entire words, such as with see, saw, seen, or with be, am, is, and are. Compare this with the Thai language, for example, which has no verb conjugations whatsoever, regardless of the pronoun or tense. If you're talking about the future, you say ja. If you're talking about the past, you say lao. And if you're talking about now, you say gamlang. This simple, logical system covers in 3 words what English and other European languages turn into a labyrinth of thousands of unnecessary conjugations. 6. Climate controls culture. One fascinating thing I noticed traveling around Southeast Asia and living in Thailand for half my life is a phenomenon known as latitudinal psychology. This is a field of study that researches how distance from the equator results in differences in human behavior and psychology. Cultures that live in equatorial and tropical climates tend to live in the present moment, have higher rates of aggression, but lower rates of anxiety and depression. Cultures that live further north and south tend to be more past and future-oriented, more punctual, and have higher rates of creativity and individualism. This makes perfect sense because living in tropical climates, the temperature remains warm and there is abundant food growing naturally year-round. That means a homeless person with no food, clothes, or money can survive in equatorial regions fairly easily without having to worry about starving or freezing to death. Compare this to people living in the Arctic, where not having a home, clothes, or a prepared food supply means certain death. As such, cultures evolving over time have physically and psychologically adapted to their climates based on latitude, much more than longitude. Equatorial regions don't experience the 4 seasons found further north and south, so they have 0 rates of seasonal affective disorder, and incidence of depression actually increase on average 1 to 2% each degree of latitude you live away from the equator. People from equatorial and tropical climates can enjoy a more relaxed relationship with time, easily living in the present moment. In Mexico, there is a saying, "Give time to time." And in Trinidad, they say, "Any time is Trinidad time." Compare this to the higher latitudes, where they say, "Time is money," and people are much more rushed and punctual. In Bangkok, people tend to walk slowly, looking left, right, pointing to and talking about whatever they see. In Boston, people walk quickly, look straight ahead, and talk about their pasts and futures. I noticed in America, People are more sentimental and nostalgic, spend more time worrying, and have more regrets and anxieties. Christianity is also more prophetic and fatalistic, waiting for a savior from the past to come back and save the future. Buddhism, on the other hand, is a whole religion about meditation, being in the present moment, and ceasing the compulsion for ruminating on past and future thoughts. 7. Minimalist Living. Before moving to Thailand, I had to make everything I own fit into 2 suitcases and a carry-on bag. This meant liquidating most everything I owned and had acquired over a lifetime up to that point. I sold all my books, comics, baseball cards, and VHS tapes, gave all my martial arts trophies to charity, and packed only my most prized or essential possessions. Surprising to me at the time, rather than feeling bad about getting rid of my stuff, it felt quite good and freeing to let it all go. The things you own over time start to own you in odd ways. Everything you own consumes an amount of mental, emotional, and physical energy just by existing in your space. Every new object needs to have a place. It must be cleaned, repaired, or replaced if damaged or lost. The more we accumulate, the more space we need to live, and the less mobile we become. Eventually, people collect so much stuff they need an entire house or storage facility just to keep it protected from the elements. Each object has a history, becomes sentimental, and contains a psychic and emotional energy that possesses the possessor. When you finally free yourself from the necessity of owning and surrounding yourself with a bunch of physical possessions, you free yourself to more easily focus on what's left. You, friends, family, nature, work, hobbies. Without the constant distraction of 101 objects in your periphery, subtly demanding your attention, you become more mentally free. Without the necessity of hauling around truckloads of possessions, you become physically free and able to travel wherever and whenever you want. All the money saved from not buying stuff can be spent on having fun, unique experiences instead. If you have never considered minimalism and the benefits that come from relinquishing most of your possessions, I personally highly recommend it. 8. American women are overly masculine. Something that was immediately apparent upon moving to Thailand, and once again became obvious when I moved back to America, is how overly masculine many Western women tend to be, and how disrespectful many of them are to men in general. In Thailand, men are still naturally masculine, and women respect them for it. One girlfriend of mine would kneel and bow 3 times at the foot of my bed before scratching my head and back until I fell asleep every single night for years. Arriving back in America, one of the first things I heard was a wife joking about how useless her hard-working husband was because he was too exhausted to take her out to restaurants enough. On the television, every sitcom features a dopey, disrespected dad being mothered by his sarcastic wife. Meanwhile, the latest generation of Western women have become strong, feminist, independent boss babes who don't need a man. From a man's perspective, however, being strong, independent, and bossy are masculine and unattractive traits in a woman. Being soft, agreeable, and a dependent but dependable teammate are attractive female traits still found in Asian women, most of whom disagree with modern feminism and enjoy being unabashedly feminine. 9. Different kinds of freedom. America boasts itself as the freest nation on earth, and Americans are constantly praising the freedoms present in the country. While I would agree Americans enjoy many freedoms not available in other countries, there are also many restrictions and laws in America that curtail certain freedoms that are still available in other places. For example, throughout Southeast Asia, the business laws are so relaxed or non-existent that pretty much anyone can push a papaya salad cart, sell fruit from their garden on the sidewalk, or carry candies around on a shoulder pole. The unemployment rates are kept very low due to the ease and availability of starting small businesses. Even with 7-Elevens on every corner, mom-and-pop 5-and-dime type shops still survive and thrive, unlike in America, where Walmart and other mega businesses have mostly done away with such stores. Asia has more relaxed zoning laws as well, which results in more unique, convenient, livable, walkable towns and cities compared to America, where strict zoning laws have caused every city to look like the same maze of strip malls, stroads, and parking lots. America has been designed, since the times of Henry Ford, to be a nation that travels by car. Many Americans view their cars as a symbol of their freedom, but cars unfortunately come pre-installed with a number of anti-freedoms called gas, insurance, oil changes, accidents, repairs, registration, fees, fines, and other hidden costs. Meanwhile, many countries in Asia are so well connected by rail and other forms of public transportation that there's no need for the average person to even own a car. The freedom to live cheaply, comfortably, and conveniently without the necessity of owning a car is a big freedom not available many places in America. 10. Motorbike travel is too risky. One of the most common modes of transportation in Asia is the motorbike. Most families own at least one, and motorbike taxi drivers are found on every street corner. While the speed and convenience are second to none, so are the risks and danger. When I first moved to Thailand, I used motorbike taxis on occasion, and was lucky to never have an accident myself, but I witnessed more than I can count. Conversing with locals, I found that almost every person I asked had personally themselves, or someone in their immediate family, been in a serious motorbike accident. The prevalence and severity of such incidents is shocking from a Western standpoint. Yet people continue to pile on 4 or 5 to a motorbike without helmets, mothers holding infants, all while looking at their cell phones. Motorcyclists account for 74% of all road fatalities in Thailand, about 15,000 annually, with minor accidents seen roadside all the time. After a few years of noticing this disturbing trend, and a couple of close calls myself, I made the decision to completely stop using motorbikes, and I highly recommend this to others in Asia as well. Unless you're just renting a motorbike to go from beach to bungalow on a small island, I suggest staying away from motorbike travel completely, especially in urban areas. It's just far too dangerous, and considering the availability of SkyTrains, subways, buses, taxis, and other far safer forms of transit, makes better sense to avoid altogether. 11. The why versus the handshake. In America, waves, hugs, and handshakes are the 3 most common and sometimes confusing greetings. Depending on the relationship and personality, people will awkwardly try to intuit the correct greeting for each person and situation. In Thailand, none of these 3 are commonly used, and instead everyone does what is called why. A why is an ancient traditional greeting done by putting the palms of the hands together and bowing slightly. It is derived from the Indian yogic mudra, and the higher the hands are held, or the deeper the bow, the more the show of respect. The why is used not just in greetings and farewells, but also as a thank you, an apology, and during religious ceremonies. For people who care about cleanliness and their personal space, handshakes or hugs can be a bit too intimate. The why looks elegant, humble, friendly, and the layered levels of respect, depending on the person and situation, are far more nuanced than the handshake. The only thing people ever say about a handshake is how firm it is, as if we should be squeezing the bejesus out of people's hands to make a good first impression. For me, I think the why is a wonderful gesture, and its prevalent use in Thai society gives a feeling of genuine humility, politeness, and respect wherever you go and from whoever you meet. 12. Spray guns versus toilet paper. All over Asia, there is a clean hygiene technology used almost exclusively, yet to be embraced by the West. Rather than wiping their behinds with crumpled pieces of soft paper, they use a pressurized water spray gun, which comes standard with every toilet. Using these bidets, otherwise known as bum guns, is a far superior method of cleaning up when compared to toilet paper. Over 10 million trees are cut down annually just to supply the world's current toilet paper supply, when instead we could be using water, the world's most abundant resource. Cleaning with water is far more thorough and hygienic than paper as well. If you had a poo stain on your shirt, would you clean it by wiping it with bits of paper, or would you wash it with water? Washing with water is the only way to get it truly clean, as wiping with paper will always inevitably leave a little bit left over. This is unfortunately the same with toilet paper, and no matter how well you wipe, you'll never be fully clean. I recommend installing a spray gun for your toilet, or if you can afford it, go for the new high-tech Japanese models with more built-in features than your car. 13. Asian food versus American Asian food. In America, there are various kinds of Asian restaurants everywhere, showcasing delicious flavors not found in typical Western cuisine. Dishes like pad thai, sushi, lo mein, fried rice, and tom yum soup are now known and loved by most Americans. While I enjoy these Asian staples as well, there are so many more amazing and delicious dishes that are unfortunately impossible to export. The multitude of unique fresh ingredients needed to create some of the best tasting Asian food is just not available outside of Asia. Due to this, even many staple dishes Americans have grown to love are actually cooked very differently and with different ingredients here. Also, I think due to American palates and expectations, whether I go to a Chinese, Japanese, Thai, or other Asian restaurant in America, the menu is almost always some kind of Asian fusion, and not the traditional food of that country. It's like every restaurant must offer the basic American idea of what Asian food is, or be unable to stay in business. Chinese restaurants sell sushi and pad thai, Japanese restaurants sell dim sum and tom yum, and Thai restaurants sell lo mein and wonton soup, just to conform to their customers' limited and geographically confused expectations. Suffice to say, if you enjoy American Asian food, actual Asian food will blow you away and is a true highlight of traveling abroad. 14. Quality over quantity. Americans tend to have a philosophy of bigger means better, more means superior, and the winner is the one with the most or the biggest. This quantity over quality mindset is what has given Americans our 7-Eleven big gulps, our supersize fries, and our heart attack grills. When this bigger is better, most is best mantra is all people care about, unfortunately standards of quality must by necessity drop to meet the increased demand for quantity. Due to the economics of supply and demand, if customers only care about getting the most product at the least cost, the quality of the product will inevitably suffer. This is what I see has happened in many aspects of American life, and I would like to see Americans prioritizing high-quality products and services again, instead of constantly prioritizing high quantities at low costs. Owning one high-quality product that is the best at what it does and won't immediately break and need replacing is worth paying slightly more for, and what should be prioritized by consumers. In Asia, portion sizes are smaller, single servings are the standard, quality is paramount, and you're more likely to see things offered in extra small than extra large. 15. Individuality versus collectivism. One thing that becomes apparent living in Asia is how their values and society are structured more around the group than the individual. In America, individualism is prized, and people pride themselves on having their own unique personalities, styles, opinions, and philosophies. An LGBT communist atheist with blue hair and septum piercings on the subway sits next to a Christian Republican Marine with a buzz cut and Semper Fi tattoo. The Constitution, Bill of Rights, and ethos of the country all emphasize personal freedom. In Thailand, collective harmony and a focus on the culture as a whole is paramount. Ask most Thai people their thoughts or opinions on a range of subjects, and their replies will be phrased, "Thai people think," rather than "I think." In Thai society, there's an entire way of being, like a slowly ever-evolving collective archetype, which is often talked about and translated as Thainess. There is a default Thai way of thinking, feeling, and existing in the world that permeates person to person, making them similar and cohesive in a way I have never seen in Americans. In Thai schools, Students wear the same uniforms, and one of the main learning techniques is repeating memorized phrases aloud together as a group. This focus on group harmony results in a polite and peaceful society in general, but at the cost of individualism and certain personal freedoms. I honestly tend to prefer the American ideal, even if I do enjoy living in Thai society. 16. Food freedom. Thailand is still to this day an agrarian society, with 1/3 of the population working in agriculture and many others maintaining significant gardens, fruit farms, or rice fields. The abundance of affordable and healthy food available at local markets all over the country is truly impressive. The way these markets operate also ensures that the food supply is being met at a grassroots level without having to go through huge corporate distributors as in America. The farmers are able to set up directly themselves, co-sell with neighbors, sell by commission, or sell wholesale to middlemen who upsell from rural to urban areas. This abundance of food, always available, even during crisis times like COVID or military coups, provides a real sense of security that I don't feel in America. In the US, if supermarkets shut down, or truckers strike, or there's an infrastructure failure, the inability for huge numbers of people to have access to food is a real looming threat. That threat is nearly non-existent in Thailand, thanks to its highly agrarian society, sheer amount of food produced, and emphasis on catering to local farmers' markets. Americans would certainly benefit from getting back to this kind of agricultural abundance the Thais have continued to preserve. 17. Seasonal affective disorder is real. Growing up in Maine, it snows about 5 months annually, and every year I would experience a kind of mild depression, increasing in intensity all winter, until finally yielding at springtime. Some people really enjoy winter and are not affected, but for others this depression is real, and nowadays goes by the acronym SAD, Seasonal Affective Disorder. A long-term lack of sunlight and intense cold affects the body's circadian rhythm and hormones, causing what used to be called winter depression, resulting in changes of mood, appetite or sleep patterns, boredom, fatigue, or anxiety. In Thailand and other tropical regions, they don't experience the same 4 seasons we do outside the tropics. Instead, they have 3 seasons that are referred to as the cold, hot, and rainy seasons. In Thailand, these 3 seasons are jokingly also called hot, hotter, and hottest, considering that it is still quite warm during the cold season. For some people, the intense heat of Thailand would be just as bad, if not worse, than the cold, snowy winters of Maine. But for me personally, I much prefer it. I don't ever experience the kind of seasonal depression I feel in Maine, and enjoy waking up nearly every morning to another hot and sunny day. If you have ever experienced seasonal affective disorder, I recommend trying out life somewhere without snow, and see if it improves your quality of life like it did mine. 18. Meditation. One really nice thing about Thai society and other Buddhist nations is the people's practice of meditation. Meditation is taught to children in Thai schools, both monastic and secular, where students learn mindfulness and breathing techniques. Thailand has over 40,000 temples across the country, where monks teach meditation and practitioners come together for group and individual sessions. Living in a society where meditation plays such a large role is felt in many ways, from people's patient politeness to their general lack of worry and anxiety. Regular meditation practice improves patience, posture, and poise, helps relieve stress, anxiety, and depression, improves mindfulness and concentration, boosts energy levels, elevates moods, releases happiness endorphins, aids in deeper sleep, and elicits the relaxation response in every cell of the body. I've personally now been meditating daily for over 20 years and find it to be one of the most beneficial practices people should seriously consider integrating into their routines. 19. Mai Pen Rai. One of the most commonly used phrases in the Thai language is Mai Pen Rai, which translates to, "It's nothing," "no problem," or "never mind." The phrase conveys a sense of forgiveness and acceptance, and is used to downplay minor inconveniences or respond to thank yous and I'm sorries. It reflects their relaxed, laid-back approach to life, along with the Buddhist notion of detachment and letting go of worries, key aspects of Thai culture embodied by this common parlage. In general, I really like this philosophy, and living among a culture that values the harmony represented by it. Too much of anything can always be an issue, however, and sometimes during rather dire or serious circumstances, continuing to have a Mai Pen Rai attitude can be short-sighted and uncompassionate. When something really is a big deal and requires attention and change, the last reaction you want to hear is, "It's nothing, no problem," or "never mind." When you protest to 4 or 5 kids without helmets piling onto a single motorbike, most Thais will just smile and say, "Mai Pen Rai," rather than really considering the risk. I would say in general, many Americans could benefit from adopting a more Thai Mai Pen Rai attitude to life, while on the flip side, some overly dismissive and disconnected Thai people might benefit from less. 20. There's no place like home. The phrase popularized by the Wizard of Oz is a common idiom expressing the idea that home is the best place to be, regardless of how extravagant or exotic other places may be. While I agree that nowhere matches the comfort and convenience of our homes, I have to disagree that home must only be located in the place you were born. I moved apartments many times during my stay in Thailand, and actually was surprised each time at how quickly my new apartment and new routine felt like home. If you have never tried making a home far away from where you were born, you might be surprised that with some planning and diligence, you can set up a lifestyle that resembles and potentially supersedes what you've grown accustomed to. I always felt a pull towards Asia ever since childhood, and now being back in Maine, that same feeling lingers, beckoning me back. I may have been born here, and agree there is no place like home, but for me, home is a bit more malleable and movable, a feeling more than a place, and I've found that feeling strongest in Southeast Asia. I want to say thanks so much to all my loyal Patreon and YouTube members. Since my last video requesting your help, I'm grateful to say I have had an influx of new supporters. I've unfortunately still yet to reach my goal of 200 patrons though, and with a channel of 226,000 subscribers, I'm hopeful that a few more of you will be able to step up and help me out. Links to my Patreon, books, and a new link tree with all my social medias, video sharing sites, email, and more can be found in the description box below. Thanks.